G'day and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at the best classes that I think players can start with when they are, starting WoW Hardcore Classic. So let's talk about the Hunter. It's basically the best solo class, and I think it will remain Classic's best solo class, and it still retails really strong solo class as well. It's really just basically a great choice. It helps a lot because you have the pet. The pet itself is really strong. It can act as a tank, additional damage. You can send it to just die while you run away, which is really solid. And range combat as well is naturally quite strong in WoW Classic, because being aggroed by multiple packs is really the bane of questing. It's probably the absolute worst thing that can happen to you while questing, and so being able to avoid that situation by having a pet and being ranged, and then on top of that as well having crucial mechanics like feign death is really important. Not to mention some super good things like aspect of the cheetah, which obviously helps you with grinding and movement before you have a mount. And yeah, just in general, really good stuff. You also have the ability to wield melee weapons in Classic, which is obviously quite important. And yeah, I would just say in general, the Hunter is probably by far and away the best starter class. It's the best DPS starter class for sure, and it's 100% a really good class. So I like it a lot. I think it's great, and yeah, I think it's a really good solid choice for new players, and it's probably the easiest way to not die, because in reality you have so many mechanisms to escape death that you realistically shouldn't die, but yeah, it's still possible. Next we have the Paladin. So Paladin is not necessarily the best character as a whole in terms of scaling and endgame and things like that, but Paladins offer a lot in the way of safe leveling, steady leveling, and you may not be able to kill things fast, but you do struggle to die. You've got plate armor, you have the ability to heal yourself, which is really important, especially in WoW Classic, because a lot of the times to gain XP you sometimes have to jump level quests, and that can be quite painful. They don't have a lot in terms of like offense, but they've got blessings, they've got shields, they've got heals. They're just a good jack of trades, and they also get a free mount. So overall, they're just really strong. However, endgame is going to be quite difficult for you, depending on what guild you get into. But the leveling experience, really strong. Next we have Priest. Priest, yeah, so yeah, Priest is just the best healer. Basically, Priest is just the simplest and best healer to use. For the most part, like, the two big things with Priest is heals are pretty easy, and leveling is not so bad because you have pretty strong damage over time spells. So it makes being a priest not unbearable to level, and it's actually one of the stronger spellcasters to level, because of the fact that your heals are relatively easy to use, your mana pool's not too bad, and your darts tend to do some decent damage. You tend to have a pretty decent time as a priest. Obviously, being a cloth wearer, you do have some liquidity to die, but generally speaking, you're pretty solid in a lot of situations. Not to mention, being probably the best endgame healer means that when you do get to max level, you do have a role in a lot of raids. So you'll be there, especially since people desperately need healing. Then we move on to Shaman. So Shaman, so the reason I put this here, so it's not great. It sounds a bit weird to say that when you've got a video that's about the best classes for players to play, but Shamans are for people that maybe are looking for a real challenge. but they can do a lot, especially up to level 30. The experience is actually quite smooth on them. Totems play quite a big part in that. You have a lot of very useful totems that give you good buffs. Shaman is a flexi choice. So Shaman lets you kind of flex between healing and damage. You can have some relative tankiness, and especially if you combine it with the right racials, you tend to be okay as a Shaman. Level 30 to 60 can be a little bit rough, depending on how your loot drops go and things like that. But generally speaking, if you're looking for a class that when you get to endgame has really good flexi aspects, Shaman's going to be a good choice. But out of all of these classes we've mentioned, it's probably the one that has the weakest leveling experience and isn't beginner friendly. It's for those who wish to challenge themselves. But that's it. There's tons of other great classes, and honestly, you can enjoy them. But I just want to give my thoughts on what I think the best ones are for players to choose. Bye.